All right, so BIO110, right? We're diving into the world of plants this time.
Some really amazing stuff.
Yeah, but let's also just keep in mind that we're not just talking about plants today. We're talking about any organism that can transform the energy of light into sugar. Do y'all remember what this process is called?
It is photosynthesis, how they make their own food,
Yeah.
something we humans still haven't quite mastered.
Not even close.
And with that exam and the lab exam coming up, I figured, what better time to really break this down?
Definitely. Time to ace those tests.
Totally. But forget memorizing the textbook. Let's really get into how this whole process works.
And you might be surprised, plants are way more clever than people think.
Yeah, I mean, come on. If you think about it, we usually think of plants as just kind of sitting around in a single place, not really doing much of anything. But photosynthetic organisms have really the ultimate responsibility for producing for our planet.
So we know they need sunlight, but get this, they only use about 1% of it for photosynthesis.
1%, that's it. Wild, right?
It's mind-blowing, especially when you consider how much plant life there is on Earth, all powered by this tiny fraction of the sun's energy.
Huh. That's a really neat way to think about it. I mean, I mostly think about the sun providing just like this overwhelming amount of energy, more than what a plant can use up. But it's also interesting to think about how all plants support themselves and their environment on just a fraction of the sun's energy. That's pretty efficient. But what about photosynthetic organisms makes them able to do this?
Well, it all starts with chlorophyll, the pigment that gives plants their green color.
Right.
But they're not just there for looks. Think of chlorophyll A and B like these specialized antennas, each one tuned to capture different wavelengths of light.
So like how some people are into blues and greens and others prefer reds and oranges, it's about like absorbing different parts of the light spectrum.
Exactly.
Right, because chlorophyll can only absorb the energy from certain wavelengths of light. That's a pretty limited system, but I guess if you have two different kinds of chlorophyll, like chlorophyll A and chlorophyll B, each one can focus on absorbing different wavelengths of light.
It's how plants capture a wider range of energy, even if they can't catch it all.
That's pretty smart. But what about when leaves change color in the fall? It's like they're showing off, a hidden artistic side. What's happening there?
Well, it's not so much that new pigments are appearing, but more that the existing ones are taking center stage.
Okay.
As the chlorophyll breaks down, you start to see the yellows and oranges from carotenoids.
Carotenoids, like in carrots.
The very same.
Oh, wow.
And just like they're good for us, they're essential for plants. Think of them like the plant's sunscreen, protecting it from excess energy, especially as the days get shorter.
Sure, but also just keep in mind, the carotenoids that have that yellow-orangish color, they're actually always there. It's just that when the leaves start to die, so does the chlorophyll, which causes the green pigments to waste away, leaving just the carotenoids behind.
Okay, so we've got these chlorophyll molecules absorbing light energy. But how does the plant actually use this energy? It's like having a phone charger, but nowhere to plug it in.
That's where things get really interesting. We got to talk about photosystems, specifically photosystem 2 and photosystem 1. Let's just say they were discovered a little out of order. But the names aren't as important as understanding what these photosystems actually do. Think of them like tiny little solar power stations inside the chloroplast, the plant cell's energy factory.
And this is all happening in the thylakoid membrane, right? Those stacked disc-shaped structures inside the chloroplast. They always remind me of poker chips for some reason.
Precisely. And within these photosystems, you have chlorophyll molecules working together like a perfectly coordinated team to capture light energy.
Okay, so how do they actually do that? Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Lay it on me.
All right, so picture this. You got a tiny packet of light, a photon, and it hits a chlorophyll molecule.
Okay.
That impact, it energizes an electron in the chlorophyll, like boom, flipping a switch, energy on.
So the light is like literally energizing the plant at a molecular level. That's pretty wild. But then what? Where does all that energy go?
That energized electron, that's precious cargo right there. It gets passed down a chain of molecules.
Okay.
We call this the electron transport chain.
Right.
And as it moves along, it gradually releases its energy.
Okay. So it's like a relay race with the electron being passed from one runner to the next.
Mm-hmm.
But what's the point of all this energy handoff? What are we trying to, achieve here?
So this is where the real ingenuity of photosynthesis comes in.
Right.
As the electron moves down the chain,
Yeah.
its energy is used to pump protons.
Protons.
Specifically, hydrogen ions
Okay.
across the thylakoid membrane.
So it's like using the energy from the electron to create a dam, building up like a proton gradient.
You got it. You're exactly right. And just like a dam can be harnessed to generate power, this proton gradient, that's the key to creating ATP.
And just remember, keep this in mind. This is super similar to something that we've seen before, right? This is exactly how we make a ton of ATP in the mitochondria using oxidative phosphorylation.
So these protons, they want to flow back down their concentration gradient.
Makes sense.
High concentration to low concentration. It's just natural.
Right.
And the plant provides a specific channel for that flow.
Let me guess. It's not just any old channel, is it?
Bingo! It's a special type of channel, one that can harness the energy of flow. So like, you know how air flows past the blades of a windmill to generate rotational kinetic energy? This channel uses the flow of protons to make ATP.
But what happens to the electron after its little journey down the transport chain? It's, given up some energy along the way, but it can't just disappear, right? You're right, it doesn't disappear. Remember those two photosystems we talked about? Well, the electron, a little depleted now, but it gets passed on from photosystem 2 to photosystem 1.
And so like what? At this point, the electron is just like a low energy electron? Like, does the electron transport chain just use up the energy of the electron and then just dump the rest of it off, like dump a dead electron off to photosystem 1?
You got it. Photosystem I re-energizes that electron using light energy again, and then this now re-energized electron, it's used to create another important energy carrier, NADPH.
NADPH. That sounds familiar. Kind of like NADH, which we talked about with cellular respiration.
Very similar molecules, both acting as electron carriers, in different but equally important processes.
Okay, so now we've got ATP, our energy currency, and NADPH, our electron carrier, both like charged up and ready to go. Time for the plant to put all this hard-earned energy to work, right?
Exactly. And that's where the next stage of photosynthesis comes in the Calvin cycle. That's where the plant uses this captured energy to, build the building blocks of life itself.
So the Calvin cycle, the plant's ready to put all that energy to good use.
Exactly. It's like, imagine a construction crew. They've got their energy drinks, the ATP, and their power tools. That's the NADPH.
Right. All fueled up.
Exactly. And they're ready to build.
So what are we building? What's the blueprint?
The ultimate goal, to take carbon dioxide, the CO2 from the air, and convert it into sugar.
Yeah, we call that carbon fixing, right? And the plants are able to fix the carbon into a sugar molecule, right?
Yeah, specifically a simple sugar called G3P.
G3P, that rings a bell. Wasn't that mentioned when we talked about glycolysis?
Yeah, that was one of those intermediates of glycolysis. Like when you take glucose and when you start to split it, one of the things that you get out of it is actually G3P.
Oh, cool. So it's like the plant is building its own pantry, stocking it with sugars that it can use later for energy.
Exactly.
But how do you capture air, CO2, and turn it into like something tangible like sugar?
Well, it's not as simple as snapping your fingers, but it is a beautifully efficient process. There are a few key players involved. One of them, an enzyme called rubisco.
And that rubisco, that's part of the Calvin cycle that combines carbon dioxide and RuBP.
You got it. And its claim to fame, its ability to fix carbon from CO2 onto another molecule called RuBP, basically capturing the carbon, making it available for building sugars.
So rubisco is like the plant's carbon capture machine. That's pretty important these days.
It's essential for life as we know it. And get this, the plant doesn't waste a thing. For every 6 G3P molecules produced, only 1 is used to build other molecules, like glucose.
What happens to the other 5?
They get recycled back into RuBP, ready to capture more carbon.
Wow. Talk about efficiency. It's like the ultimate recycling program.
Exactly. It's a closed-loop system, minimizing waste, maximizing resources, and that's the beauty of photosynthesis, this elegant, efficient process. Light energy, water, and carbon dioxide transformed into the building blocks of life.
That's incredible. It really is a symphony of cellular processes all working in a perfect harmony. It makes you appreciate the elegance and ingenuity of plants. They're not just sitting there, they're powerhouses of energy conversion, master builders of life. And who knows, maybe one day we can unlock the secrets of photosynthesis and power our world with the same elegance and efficiency as a leaf. Until then, keep asking questions, keep exploring, and never stop learning.
Yeah, that was a ton of fun. We should definitely do this again. Thanks so much.